Hi, everybody. I'm here with Monica today, and we wanted to kind of explore. We talked about uh, burnout and how the interaction between the two will get to our interaction to ourselves get to us to that space of burnout. So today we're going to talk about boundaries, which this many years ago that word of boundary was unknown to me. So as soon as I learned how what it is and actually brought it into my interactions with everybody,
Mhm.
then I saw a big huge change in myself and the people that I bring to my life. So Monica, go ahead, talk about boundaries that are effective for partners or any kind of interaction.
Well, I'm going to leave some of it for you because I know that you had a really great outline for that. So I'm going to leave some of that for you. A lot of the boundaries talk that people have and they think about boundaries is um, that it's like this rigid. It's the same with every single person, and I just want to sort of start our conversation by acknowledging that sometimes our boundaries with one person may look different than how they may need to look in a different relationship. Again, the nuances that come with boundaries and really feeling into how does this relationship work for you, what does the relationship need from you, how does this relationship pull from you energetically. Sometimes those are the things that we need to be mindful of when we're considering what our boundaries need to look like. Now, if we have this conception that boundaries need to be rigid and the same every time, everywhere, that may be really difficult for an individual to hold up, right? And it may not even be what you need. So I'm always a big advocate or proponent that when we're before we're even establishing what our boundaries are in relationships or with the ways that we're showing up in our work, that we have to know ourselves, right? We have to know what we need, what we like, how we feel in our bodies when we're with certain people or when we're relating to people. Um, those are the cues that are going to signal back to us what boundaries we need and how much we need to reinforce that boundary, or if it's a boundary that has some flexibility to it. So I'm always really big on knowing yourself first and what you need and how to pay attention to yourself so that you can then go do the work of setting the boundary. And I'm going to let you talk about a little bit of the boundary stuff because I was like, oh, I love your points that you already had listed out, when you sent
Yeah.
over what our discussion was. So I think that is all great. And I want to let you talk about some of that. I just wanted to do like the front loading piece.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
mean, you're correct. Exactly. I mean, people, as I said many times before, I think I said it in these interactions also, that people come to me, they know what they don't want, but they don't know what they want.
Mhm.
So the key first is to understand who you are, what your needs are. And that's the foundation of the relationship that you have with yourself. And then opens up the relationship with others, as you said
Yes.
it. So yes, so the communication is the first key,
Mhm.
and being able to know what your needs are and
Yeah.
really communicating it in a loving, vulnerably way. I mean, I understand in a two interaction in a love relationship, it can be a little bit different, and it in the business relationship can be different.
Mhm.
But it if we started with that, let's sit down, maybe in the business, but let's sit down and talk about what we want in this interaction, in this business transaction, whatever it is, and like write it down.
Mhm.
But in the two, emotional, I guess, interaction, it's different. But yes, it is still that communication,
Certainly.
how you talk about what your needs are,
Yeah.
not attacking the other person.
You need to do this for me. Yeah. No, again, when we can own what our need is and communicate that, again, if we can be really grounded in what we need, then that's going to help us to set up that communicating our needs more effectively, right? Because we're going to acknowledge and be grounded in the fact that I need this. I know I need this, or I really desire this, or I want more of this, right? We're going to be really grounded in that. And so that helps set up the communication of that boundary to be more smooth. So yeah, communicating is an absolute must. And really, the way that I phrase this is sort of taking responsibility or ownership for that need,
Mm-hmm.
right? So starting that boundary communication with that I statement, right? Like, I really need, or I really love, or I want more of, right? And just really owning that. It requires so much vulnerability when we own it that way. But it actually lands so much better with our partners, or even with our, our leadership, our supervisors, our team, when we can come into a conversation acknowledging this is something that I need in order to make the team more effective or more efficient, or to help us collectively get the outcomes that we desire. So, yeah.
Would you suggest to say, okay, this, for example, my need, consistency is my need, and it makes me feel
Mm-hmm.
uh, happy, connected, more interactive with you, or
Yes.
something like that. That feeling part, do you believe that it should be there so that will,
Absolutely. If somebody has the safety in the relationship to do that, right? I think absolutely do that. In your case with the clients that you coach with around relationships, like, um that kind of follow-up piece to setting the boundary would be essential. Now, again, if you're talking about being a leadership, being in leadership in business and setting a boundary, you may not need to communicate as much of how you're feeling about things, but certainly letting them know, like, hey, when these things get done, or if it gets done in this kind of way, right, whatever the boundary needs to be, as a
yeah.
team, we're going to feel more successful. We're going to feel more, on the same page, tuned, aligned, all of that's going to help our outcomes. So yeah, you can own the feeling, but it may be a little bit different than what it would sound like
Exactly,
in a relationship.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just that need. So, I mean, even if we say, okay, me and you are dealing with 10 other people that we are telling them what to do in the process of a business, then please let's have us discuss whatever we're going to tell our team, so we're on the same page before even talking to them. So that
Yeah.
would be something that's a boundary that is telling that other person, let's communicate with each other what we're going to have them do in the process of what the goal is in that space. Or yeah, we
Yeah.
don't need to say, oh, it makes me feel this and that.
I
No.
feel sad when you don't meet my deadlines. No, we wouldn't necessarily need to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing is that I think is essential to give that person the space, the time, the alone time. Everybody is different. Everybody has their own journey. There's some people, like, I had a client that he wanted to, when he come home, to have that 20 minutes alone time before
Mhm.
his wife tell him, let's do this, let's do that, let's have
Yeah.
dinner. But that 15, 20 minutes or half an hour of alone time. So as soon as he communicated that, it worked,
Yeah.
because sometimes, yes, that half an hour was there. Sometimes there was some other stuff that came up, which is okay. Life goes on, and we other circumstances comes up that you have to take care of stuff right there and then. But if you're in a relationship, and your partner tells you that needs that alone time,
Mhm.
doesn't matter if it's a Saturday or a Sunday or whenever it is, uh, just be open to understanding where he or she's coming from. I think
Sure.
that's the key to, and at the same time, you can ask the same from your partner, because
Yeah.
sometimes we do need to be on our own to process stuff. To, I don't know, I like to journal, so I need that 15, 20 minutes of time
Yeah.
sitting down and journal in the morning. So
Yeah, I mean, again, this that's a very specific boundary, almost, right? Like a boundary around your time, and so when with any boundary, whether it's your partner requesting time, whether it's your partner's requesting more resources, whether your partner is requesting, that you don't reach out to somebody or have drinks with somebody when you're not there, whatever the boundary is, when we can respect the other person's need, and when we understand that the spirit or the intention of their saying their boundary, they're communicating their boundaries because they want to have more closeness and connection with us, right? When we see them saying, here's what I need, and then we understand that that's a need so that we can keep the relationship thriving, then we're more willing to honor that need. We're more willing to give them what they need there. So I think of it like this. If let's say I had an allergy to peanuts, and I tell my partner, hey, every time you eat peanuts, it actually causes me great harm. It actually is really dangerous for me to be around you when you eat these peanuts, right? Then our partner would go, oh my gosh, I didn't know you had an allergy. I would never eat peanuts around you ever again, because we understand how important that boundary is, how important that need is. And so I like to tell, the people that I work with, when your partner is taking the effort to vulnerably communicate what they need, we need to receive it as though it was that critical, as though this need was that serious or severe, um, as if it were a health allergy, right? If we would want to
Right,
respect it and honor it and do everything to never cause harm to our partner. That's how our boundary communication and receiving those boundaries should go.
right. And then the other part that I wanted to also mention is the burnout.
Yeah.
So if you always say yes to the other person, and you don't set your boundaries, then what comes up? Burnout.
Yeah.
Because you're working all day, come home and doing this and that, and there is, like, if there's no stop, they don't take time to be by yourself on your own and process everything, then the burnout comes up, and that's then the argument comes up after that.
Yeah. Yeah. I really think that a huge way that we could prevent burnout is, again, by knowing yourself and what you need and communicating that to others so that you can stay in alignment. When we're
Exactly.
not communicating our boundaries and what we need, and we're just saying, yeah, sure, and going with the flow all the time, we're not honoring what we need for our own alignment. And inevitably that's going to cause burnout and resentment and contention, and maybe even relationship disconnect. So yeah, we have to know ourselves so we can communicate. And then the reasons why we honor that when our partner's doing that is with the understanding that this boundary is going to lead to more connection and less disconnection. And so it ought to
Exactly.
be a priority to meet these needs and
Yeah.
boundaries.
And then on the other hand, if anybody kind of crosses the boundary and doesn't accept it, or doesn't, some things happens, then the best way to address that is being very calm and being in that space of speaking and communicating. Again, the communication part comes
Yeah.
up in that space that is loving, that is not like harsh.
Right.
Because then, I mean, how would that work with the other person? Imagine yourself in that space.
Yeah.
Would you like somebody to talk to you with a, high voice or low, or
Yeah, a
something?
harsh tone. Right. No. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
going to absolutely trigger your own signals of threat and make you less receptive to whatever they're going to be talking about. I think it's so important in relationships, whether they're colleague relationships or romantic relationships, is that we have to assume that the other person has our best interest at heart. I think when we see them that way, we see them as less of a threat. They're more
ex-
neutral to us, right? Because you're not trying to hurt me. So when we receive their communication, we're not feeling defensive because we're not feeling threatened. When we see them as having our best interests at heart, they're an ally, they're a teammate, they're a team member, right?
yeah,
And that makes us more receptive.
yeah. And the other key is to always know that this interaction is today, not from those past experiences that's happened in the past.
Yeah.
That's a lot of times comes true because of those past experiences. Our
Mhm.
mind goes to that past, not to
Absolutely.
the present moment.
Yeah, such a
Yeah,
great point. Yeah, staying present. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. So thank you so much. This is huge, and I know that we can talk about this another
I
15,
know. You
20
have these
minutes.
big conversations in just a short little nugget of time. I love it though. It's so impactful.
Yes. So let us know if you have any questions. Monica's information is in the description as well as mine. And we are here to answer your questions. And we have new subjects connected to boundaries maybe next week so we can just open up and talk a bit more. And wish you all the best. And thank you so much, Monica, for joining.
Yeah, of course. Thanks.
Thank you.